Hey, family and friends and relatives and whoever it is that's out there watching this. Just want to again thank you for your kindness, for your prayers for us, your getting behind us in so many ways. And just wanted to give an update and also some prayer requests for what we'll be doing here in the very near future. So, update. Last month, Janie and I went up to Washington and we were up at a little school called Adelphia. And I taught there like 8 years ago. And then I've been teaching there the last 3 years. And this year we taught on servant leadership. But the fun thing about this, it was an awesome time. But 2 years ago, the guy who's heading up the school, the Adelphia Small Discipleship School, usually just 12 to 14 students, his name is AJ, and he was the director. And he sat in on every class that we did on servant leadership. And at the end, he goes, you know what? Aaron over here, who had graduated from the school and now was working there on campus, he said, he should have my position. I need to get out of the way and let him come up. And he says, I love doing this, but I really need to give it to him. As he sat through the class, that's what he was convicted of, and he did give it to Aaron. So the last 2 years, Aaron has been the director. Janie and I have gone up, and it's been amazing because Janie, a lot of times, sometimes she'll come to the class, but a lot of times she'll stay back for the staff that works at the camp. And she's made some relationships, and they all look forward to her coming back so they can have counseling sessions with my wife. So that was really fun being at Adelphia and seeing just how it impacted. And AJ went off and now he's pastoring at a church, and the church is actually practicing servant leadership and it's thriving. So it's very, very exciting to see that kind of thing. Another thing, I think last update, I told you that Janie and I had been with Sisters Coffee, and they invited us to go and be a part of their retreat with all their uh, leaders and the staff in the different places they work. Well, I found out that Justin, who runs Sisters Coffee, 8 or 9 years ago, Ryan Moffat, who was a pastor, Good Shepherd with me, but who moved out to Sisters, became pastor of Ash Church, and he brought all the churches together and said, hey, we're going to have a men's retreat. And they had it at a Young Life camp called Washington Family Ranch. Well, anyway, while I was there, Justin, who had inherited from his parents the CEO position of Sisters Coffee, was there, and he listened. And he said, I told a story of servant leadership from this apple orchard, which is one of the most amazing stories ever. And he was so motivated. He says, that's what I want to do with my business. Well, I didn't know this, but this week he told me that he was giving a lecture and wanted me to come in and for OSU, Oregon State University. And he wanted me to come in and listen to it. So I went in and I said, well, what is this lecture exactly? He says, well, we won an award from Oregon State University for the best family business in Oregon last year. And I thought, wow, isn't that amazing to me? So he works with his brother and sister, and they all work as one. But what's amazing to me is here he decided we're going to build this around the servant leadership principles, the principles of Jesus, the principles that Jesus showed us by coming down to lift us up. He's been doing that as a leader, and again, nominated and then elected best family business in Oregon. So he was giving a lecture to OSU and some other family businesses on the kind of leadership that they've been practicing, which is really fun. Now, another very fun thing happening is when I came over here, Dan Ballast, who works with CoServe, says, Jonathan, it's not about you just teaching servant leadership. You need to belong to a community that practices servant leadership. Well, that was going to be easy because Ryan Moffat, who I just told you about, was pastoring out here. So I plugged in to Vast Church. Well, Vast Church started about 10 years ago. There's a church out here called Sisters Community Church, and Sisters Community Church at the time had some difficulties and problems, and there was imagine this, a church split. Vast became that new church, and Sisters Community kept going. Well, what's so exciting, and so incredibly exciting, is Vast, Ryan has been practicing servant leadership, and he's been meeting with all the other pastors in the area. He's been trying to heal the relationships. Well, Sisters Community, while church invited us to use their second sanctuary type of thing for our services on Saturday nights. Just, hey, use our building. Vast. We're one church anyway. So imagine a church split, but them inviting you back to use their facilities. Well, it's going one step further. We are actually healing the relationship and coming back together as one church. Now, I've been around churches a lot, and I've never seen a church split where the churches came back together. That's what God is doing in this community, and it's caught the eye. People are talking about it. They didn't go to church. It's like, wow, what a great model for our community. Even the guy who edits the newspaper out here wants to come and watch, because this is such a good example for our community. And if you think about it, why aren't the churches unified? Jesus' prayer was for unity. And it's amazing how when we've humbled ourselves and we've come together with them, the elders from their church and the elders from our church, when we come together, it's been amazing, sweet fellowship. And we're doing something I've never seen. I've heard of mergers before. A lot of times, quite frankly, they don't work. But this is just amazing what God is doing as we've just embraced each other. And we love working with their elders, and their elders love working with us. And so anyway, it's a remarkable thing. So those are just some fun things happening. Now what's coming up? Next week I go, this is fun, a guy named Alec Kemper, who graduated with my son Dalen from high school, went off to YWAM, and then he was working in New Zealand at a YWAM base, and then he came back to Salem and is now leading on that Salem base. And I went and spoke there to their staff on servant leadership just a few months ago, and I've been invited back to come and teach on discipleship and the Great Commission and missions this next week, and pretty much the Great Commission and what is our responsibility as a church and what is your responsibility as individuals. So that's going to be really fun for 4 days next week. So I'm excited about that. But as soon as that's done, we come back and Janie and I go to Uganda. Vast Church helped start an organization called Hope Africa that sponsors a bunch of kids in this remote region called Kapchura. And K&K, it's an acronym for a word really hard to say in Ugandan. So this church, this organization has indigenous staff, Ugandan leaders, and we're going to work with their leaders. Janie's actually going to be teaching on how to get post-traumatic stress, especially in the area of sexual abuse, because that goes on a lot over there and people don't even know how to deal with it. And then I will be working with the staff, and we'll be doing exercises and helping understand how they can really have this servant leadership model, the model of Jesus, the model of Paul, the model that we're supposed to practice in their organization. And so it's going to be really fun to be with them. And then we do a pastors conference for about 10 pastors up in Kapchora, which should be really fun. Some of you know that we've been in Karamoja in the past. Well, Kapchora is just right on the outside of Karamoja. In fact, some Karamojong students go to the school. So it will be really fun to be there. And then from Uganda, we are going down, flying across the country to Nigeria. And in Nigeria, we've had a relationship with a couple called Ilya and Becky Majam for years and years. They studied in the United States at Good Shepherd Community Church, where I was on staff for 15 years. They were our missionaries there. And he started a thing called Harvest Leaders Network. And when he came over with a bunch of his guys and went through the servant leadership training, he goes, oh, this is what I need to be focusing on. So that's what they've been focusing on. And they've assigned a guy named Williamsburg. I've told you about him. I've been meeting with him weekly on Skype. It's unbelievable to get to talk to somebody in Nigeria every week and to see what he's doing. Well, he just did something. He just had a conference for the student body leaders, the president and the assistant provost or the vice provost of the university was there, and all these students that are part of the student government were there. And they went through this training, and this training was the same training that we've done with pastors here on the ground. And some of the things that the students said, put it this way, Williams was super depressed on Thursday. He had just a really, really hard day and was really discouraged. And he thought, man, tomorrow at Friday at 2, we're starting this thing. it's going to poison the whole weekend with these students. So he was really actually pretty nervous about that. And he went, and they started at 2 in the afternoon, and they went till midnight on Friday. And the students wanted to go all night. That's how fired they were up by this material. It's like, wow, this was exciting. They woke up at 6 and started going, and they went again till midnight. And then they went from Sunday, got up again at 6, and they went till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They went 30 hours talking about this content. And some of the comments were, one of the students said, wow, you didn't even teach us. You just facilitated, and we were the ones that taught one another. This, servant leadership, honestly, it's right there in the scriptures. It's intuitive. It's the way we want to be led. And these students, as they were with each other, they learned from one another. And their lives were changed. Some of the quotes, let me just read you a couple of the quotes, because, and I'll actually post them in a letter so you can go through and read some more, but it was pretty amazing what some of the students said. One of the participants said, hey, this training is better than 2 years of seminary. He said he learned more than he did in 2 years. And one of the students was lost in thought. He was really quiet. And he said, man, I can see this as a solution to the problem in Nigeria, but to the sick church in Nigeria, as he said, but I'm seeing how the existing structure will work toward frustrating it. So pray for these guys, because they've all committed to leaving and saying, we're going to go practice these things. But they have never really seen it at work. Here's another guy. He said, by the time we finished the first 3 sessions, this is Williams talking, they began to see leadership from a totally different perspective from what they were taught their whole life. One of them remarked, just thinking about how I need to unlearn what I've been taught my whole life. Then they talked about titles and the power in titles, and are titles a good thing, and should we have titles, or how should we change titles? What should be the role of titles? And all of them said they were that the church is really broken. As they x-rayed the church in Nigeria, they concluded that the church is sick. And somebody said, actually, the church is in ICU. And it really is true. When leaders climb up on top and they keep everybody else down rather than getting down and launching and pushing people out, when they become the pyramid rather than the tree, then it really is broken, and people are broken by it. And so anyway, there are some great things. I'll post this right below the link with this video. Boom, it's just some of the comments that he had. It was so encouraging to me. And he left there after 30 hours with these students on a weekend. And he'd gone in super low and discouraged, and he was so encouraged. And he was talking, it was like they were having a second conversion experience when they really started to see the way that Jesus taught, the way that Jesus modeled that we should live. So Janie and I get to go be in Nigeria with Williams. He's going to run us all over the place. We were supposed to go there over a year ago, and I'm thankful that we didn't, because Williams had to do it all, get everything started. So we're just going to come alongside some of the guys that he's already working with and encourage them, maybe have some Q&As. I don't even know all that we're going to be doing, but Williams has a super busy schedule for us while we are there. So the dates below of all our travels are there. Thank you for praying. And we've had a ton of people in our home. It's been really neat to help people counsel them through some issues. Janie's been meeting with women regularly. A couple of people we were with in Turkey, she has been meeting with regularly and helping them on their next steps in their life. So it's just been fun. It's encouraging to us. But what's really encouraging is that we know you have been praying, and we are extremely encouraged. And also, please pray. And we have CoServe staff there on the ground in the Ukraine, and we keep hearing from them regularly. And so pray that this would come to an end, this war. It just pray it would end. And pray for the church, that God would use them to help bring an end to this, and that the church would grow strong, and they would be the source of encouragement to people. I've seen that they are. A guy named Connor Steves from our church at Good Shepherd, he was over working with CoServe, barely got out of the country, but then guess what he's been doing? Going back in and grabbing kids that are without parents and bringing them out. So pray for Connor as well. Pray for all of our staff there. So thanks for your prayers. Man, it's amazing what God is doing, and pray that we have the stamina, especially Janie. She wants to have strength and energy while she's in Africa, and she's worried that she'll be too tired because of jet lag and all that. So pray for her and her strength. And thank you again for tracking with us. Thank you for getting behind what we're doing. We don't deserve friends like you, but God graciously gives them. So thank you, thank you, thank you. See ya.